Good day. It's early afternoon, about 12:40. I'm at Ploshad Yakuba Kolesa here in Minsk, and I'll show you around the sites here. My walk is going to take me down this road over here, but I have to show you the centerpiece of this metro stop. So apparently, look at this. That, I believe, is what the stop is made. I mean, the name of the metro stop is named after, but for some reason, this one gets a lot more attention. A lot of people coming here. I don't know why. And I was going to show you the arm. What's very strange is, and you'll see in a moment, but I don't want to be intruding on all these people's pictures here, but I came here and nobody was here. And then first some other people came, and then some more people came. So I don't know, maybe I got to get in line. Okay, it looks like it's clearing out here. Just what I was noticing though is if you look at the Belarusian flag, there is a part of it is made because of I mean the little strip that's red and white is like a weave or a lace that the Belarusians make, and you can see that this girl here has that on her arm. And this man has it on his tunic. His shoes look like they're handmade, and she doesn't have shoes. If I was some kind of a expert that knew what this was all about, I would tell you, but I'm not. Maybe, I think 10 to sometimes up to 15% of the people that watch my videos are from Belarus, and maybe they can tell me the significance of what I just said. One has shoes, one doesn't. I don't know. Maybe there isn't anything significant. This guy used to have a pigeon on his head when I came, but while he's reading a book. No, he's not sitting on a toilet. He's sitting on a rock, I think, reading a book. And obviously this here, also no shoes. I think there's something symbolic in that. But obviously this is to do with the partisan spirit of the Belarusian people of resistance. That's an old rifle. I used to have a rifle like that. You have to bolt it back. I'm not saying it was the same model, but the one I had was made in Turkey, and it was like a Mauser, a German Mauser from World War II, and it was already just a wall piece. Lead was poured down the barrel so that you can't fire it. And I think it was single shot. You had to put every shot in manually. And this looks like, it's either the weave. I don't think it's music. Symbol for music. That's what one thing Belarus is famous for is the cloth weave like that. Well, anyway, I'll show you over here a little bit. If you can see over here in the distance where the flag is at, that looks like it's Tsum. That's a supermarket, or it's actually a shopping mall, and it's named after the same type of shopping mall I guess they have in Moscow. They have a Gum and a Tsum there. They have a Gum and a Tsum here. So I wanted to go inside at some point in time just to show you, it's kind of a nice higher class Soviet type of designs inside. Maybe I'll do that sometime. But anyway, for today I'm going to be taking a walk a little bit in a little bit different direction if I can find my way to get across the street. It looks like I'm going to have to do a little bit of walking right over here. Maybe there's an underpass. Yeah, I can walk through here. Okay, well, I'll see you on the other side again. Okay, I'm very close to my destination. So this is where I left from, over there, where that Greek-style building is at with the Ionic columns, and now I'm over here. It's near a shopping area. It's a nice day, nice and hot. Hot in August, as you know. So maybe I should first walk through the shopping area here. It's obviously from around Soviet times. Hasn't been modernized. It's still very nice. I would judge that this was probably about 1980s. Even though they had some actually nicer shops that were made before the 1980s, but this is a nice area here. You see it's sort of like a park setting. Yes, I suppose they do have that German Löwenbräu still here. I don't know. I've seen Warsteiner. They even have Miller and Bud. No Bud Light. I don't think they had Bud Light here. But this is a very fascinating restaurant inside here. Design is it's obviously, since we're in Belarus, it's traditional Belarusian food. And they throw in some elements of like Viking, because Belarusian design is a lot like, it's a lot like Scandinavian in a way. A lot of time I like to look at it as like, if you're familiar with Lord of the Rings, like the Belarusians are like the elves. I would think that the Ukrainians think they are, and I think they're calling the Russians the orcs, when in truth, I think it's absolutely reversed. I guess you call that projection, when, you know, it's pretty obvious that how the Ukrainians behave, at least the government, they behave like orcs. And the Russians are more like the men, and the Belarusians are more like the elves. So the hobbits, I don't know. I haven't figured that one out yet. Hobbitses. Then you have some leadership of the Ukraine. It's like Schmiegel. Matter of fact, there's a guy named Schmiegel in their government, isn't there? Schmiegel, the precious. What is the precious? The nuclear bombs? I don't know. Anyway, a lot of what I was going to talk about today is what I'd really like to mention, and I didn't want to take any notes on it because I think it's better if you get your own impression. Alex Christoforo was yesterday talking quite a bit about this interview with Alexander Lukashenko with Ukrainian journalist Diana Panchenko. And she is pro-Ukraine, but that does not mean she's pro-ideology of the government of Ukraine right now. Matter of fact, I don't think she is. She seems to be, she tries to take a neutral sort of a stance in a lot of things. She's a very good, obviously you watch this interview and you can find it on an internet site called Russia News, and it's in 3 parts, and each part is like 30 minutes. And she's very, very good. It looks like she has a lot of respect for Alexander Lukashenko, just by the way she looks, and you can see she's very intelligent. I remember when I was in the university, when sometimes you meet, you know, I had some friends that were, well, I had quite a few friends that were very intelligent, highly intelligent, and some of them, not all of them, but one of the characteristics about them is when you're talking to them, they are really attentive. And it's not that these people are some kind of superhumans, but it's actually probably the way they learn. And there was a guy named Jake, and he would be boring into you with his eyes when you're talking with him. So it was pretty interesting. And this guy, he was just incredible. He was up in the upper few percentages of students at the university, and one of the largest universities in the United States. I don't even know, 100,000 students or whatever. I don't know how many they had there. University of Washington. I think it was at that time the 3rd largest university in population in the United States. 3rd largest amount of students when I was going there. I graduated Phi Alpha Theta in the College of Arts and Sciences, so it's not that that is in the upper 1 or 2 or something, maybe upper 10% or so, but I struggled for that. Some of these people, University of Washington was an interesting place at that time. They even made a movie about, and it was, the star of it was one of these women that played in Little House on the Prairie, the big sister. I don't remember what her name, but she starred in the movie as as a student, and then she was talking with some of the gifted students to try to help her pass some test or something like that. But anyway, I remember that because that was my university. So mostly we were really good in football. You know, it's very strange about football when you talk about that. I can never get over that. They were, University of Washington, for example, was rated, I think a lot of time, somewhere around 8 or number 10 best college football team in the United States. And even though the entire season, they never lost a game, and rarely did anybody even score on them. So the other side was always getting 0, and they won every single game. And then I guess because they had such a good record, a lot of time they used to be going to the Rose Bowl, and I think maybe the more prestigious one was the Orange Bowl. And then there was a time they went to the Orange Bowl, and I know they won. I think they beat the team. I don't know if that other team even scored on them. So then they raised their rating up from number 8 to number 3, even though they beat the team that was rated number 1 in the United States. So that's how it goes, you know. And they always were saying that the coach of the Huskies at that time was the number 1 best football coach in the entire United States, including from pro teams. Whenever any team had their coach resign, they always asked Don James to become the coach, and he was happy where he's at University of Washington, so he stayed there. Then there was some kind of a scandal, and some kind of I think the quarterback was betting against the team and all that, and then University of Washington was banned from television for 11 years or something because of that. And I guess they really loved to do that because we were so very good in football that they had to do that, and they were so happy. It's sort of like what's going on now with Russia. You got all these countries, some of them are like the Chihuahua states, dogpiling, trying to take Russian down, and a lot of the big boys like the USA and Germany, they want to go in there and take the resources, make themselves even richer and so far ahead of everybody that nobody can keep up. Yeah, you know how the deal is. That's how that works. So anyway, mostly I just want to have you look at this interview and some of the major things that I would want to stress in this interview. I'm not going to go over all of it, but I was mainly trying to figure out what is Alexander Lukashenko's philosophy, his leadership philosophy, more than a lot of other things. Of course, there was a lot of major facts that were revealed there, misconceptions that we have in the world of what happened, in some of the latest news lately. But his philosophy is much like what I was thinking it was. He's more of a person who likes building a country from the foundation up. So that might sound strange to you. So of course, now what else? What else is possible? But I lived in a country before, it was like a developing country, and it's like they're trying to do things like have some sort of a industry when there's nobody trained in the country to run that industry, rather than first educating the people and then getting that industry. No, but it's like building a house and starting on the third row of blocks. You don't need the foundation. We don't need those first 2. We just start on the 3rd row. Of course you can't do that, but that's how they wanted to do things in that country economically. And needless to say that I met and I've talked with that leader, and I knew the opposition, and in that country, all the opposition leaders, and of course they knew me very well, and all the heads of all the departments in the government knew me very well, because I had established coffee, and coffee is some sort of a deal when a lot of foreigners like coffee, and when the Prime Minister or the Minister of Agriculture or anybody travels overseas, the coffee that I grew and produced and packaged was very well known, and was drank by like the royal family of England, and Mick Jagger, Bryan Adams, Tommy Hilfiger, many more. Most people that I never even knew, and I didn't know they were. I just knew that those people did because I found out at some other time. And then there was some other movie stars, minor movie stars, and then they found my email address. I was communicating with them, but anyhow, very good coffee. And that was just St. Vincent coffee. That's what it was called. So maybe I can show a picture of one of the bags. I just found some of the bags that we packed 2 years ago. So it's very old right now. Just found it in my boxes. So that's just another side note, another little tangent that I like to go off on. And you know, otherwise, you know, I'm starting to talk, and then you start to think, well, how is this guy saying this stuff? What sort of a background does he have? What right does he have to say this sort of a thing, you know? I could go into a lot more details, but I don't know. I'm not any world figure. I'm not like a well-known person like Scott Ritter, so I, you know, can't say things one time and then everybody remembers that. So let's, that's enough for said right now. But like I said that about Lukashenko, and it's just fascinating, and I guess try to look at maybe his way of doing things while you're watching these videos. And there's 3 of them, and they're 30 minutes. I was fascinated, of course, because I live here, and most of any communications with him is never translated into English, you know, for good reason. Why? You know, the West really doesn't want you to know about him. They want you to believe he's some evil dictator. So, and you know, when you watch these videos, as you see in the comments, how impressed people were with Lukashenko, and that's a major, matter of fact, the main reason why I decided to come to this country. One of the things is that it might kind of startle you is in Belarus you actually have more freedom. What's that funny word, freedom? Think about that. Nobody was ever locked up, and you weren't persecuted because you didn't take the shot in the arm. So everything was open. It stayed open here, and everybody had free choice, and nobody was ever pressured to take the shot or not take the shot. And Lukashenko himself didn't take the shot. He said he's never going to take the shot, but he didn't tell everybody else that you're not going to take the shot either. So that's just one example, and I guess you know, finding out, living in a country with the freedom of choice, when you find out that those countries that talk about democracy and freedom and all that are the same countries that are taking your democracy and your freedom. So nothing more said about that. I should make a video all about it, but no, nothing more said. Okay, now the opposition leader of Kenya, Raila Odinga, he's told the United States ambassador, this one here, who is very heavily politically involved, verbally at least, in Kenya, he told her to leave Kenya alone, or he will formally request the United States government to recall her, as if they're going to listen to him. He's a leader of the opposition, and if she does not shut up, you know, he will formally go to the United States and say, well, he'd probably go to the news, and everybody sees what the United States is all about anyway, no matter what they say. We love peace, we love freedom, we love democracy. You know, that's why we meddle in elections, because we love democracy. So, but anyway, he made sure to say that that the U.S. or that Kenya is not a United States colony. So I don't think they know that. F-16s for Ukraine. You know, there's already been a few pilots that are trained on the F-16s. I remember there was one pilot, and this was just about 2 months ago. He was trained, he was the first one that was trained on an F-16, Ukrainian pilot, by the way. And he was back in Ukraine, he was flying a Sukhoi, and he got shot down. And they even announced that in the Ukraine. He was the first pilot trained on an F-16. And I think there was like a handful, maybe 4 or whatever. So in other words, now they're saying, oh, we need to train some, you know. And everybody is now brainwashed into thinking that none of them have ever been trained on F-16. I don't know what happened to the other one. I know there was at least 4 that were trained. I'm thinking it was actually 6 that they were talking about, that they were in the process of training, and that was like a year and a half ago. And obviously their training has come to an end, and that one person was the first one. They announced that in Ukraine. He was the first one. And there was like, I don't know, some service, or everybody was supposed to be sad because he died in that flying a Sukhoi. I guess the Russians shot that one down. So now we just forget about that. It's just like the blowing up the pipeline. You know, we were listening to Seymour Hersh, and he was talking about how the United States blew that up and how he got this evidence and all. And then we were afterwards, right after that, Olaf Scholz went to the United States, had some secret meeting with Joe Biden, and immediately it came out in the German press somewhere that some lady and a couple guys went out on some little boat, and they're the ones that did it. I wonder how much that boat, I don't know where they slept or something if they're going out there, because they had to have that boat completely filled up with this stuff. You know, it was like the SS Minnow, and she's that one that came back with the red snapper when they went fishing, and I think I told you about that in one other video. You know, they were all fishing, and one guy got some halibut, the other one got some stingrays, and all she came back with was a red snapper. So anyway, one woman on a boat with a bunch of guys, you know, something to do with planting explosives. Quite an explosive time, or at least somebody on that boat, I'll bet. But in any case, that's a bullshit story, obviously. Alex Christoforou was laughing about it, and I think now everybody's going with this narrative that Ukraine did it. Very strange, you know. And Zaluzhny, he's that same guy that nobody has actually really seen since this one time. It's very strange. He used to like to go in front of the press, and now all of a sudden we just mostly hear about him. But we haven't really conclusively seen him since the time when he was supposed to have been wounded. I don't know. Very strange stuff. So what else do we have here? Yeah, anyway, the F-16 is supposed to be coming, as you already know, probably in the news. It's Denmark and Netherlands, and Zelensky was just there sitting like a big shot in the cabinet. I think his wife was sitting behind him as a dual-seater. And the F-16s are the old models. Scott Ritter has come out and said that half of them are not even flight-worthy. So that's very strange. And it's another strange thing that these pilots, apparently these new pilots that they're sending there, it's at least now it's come out. You know, when you are a pilot, the language in the airways is English. So even Russians have to know English. And matter of fact, I even have a friend here learning to fly airplane, and he has to learn English. He does know English very good, but he's got to learn pilot's English before he can get his license. So he's at the beginning of his training, but that's how that is. And then you have these so-called pilots that are going over there to train in the United States to fly F-16, but they don't know English. Now they have to go to school for 1 year to learn English, or nearly a year. In other case, it's going to take at least 18 months for them to be able to fly these F-16s. I think it was supposed to be 42 altogether. You know, there's some dispute about the number, and half are not even flight worthy. But apparently the pilots that are being trained have very little flight training, very little flying experience. So that makes sense that they don't know English. But it really makes you wonder, well, what happened? I guess all the other pilots were either shot down, or maybe they've refused to comply because they know they're going to get shot down. They had to look for enough stupid people that just want to fly and die. Scott Ritter believes that they're going to be shot down within 1 month when these things do take to the airwaves. And a lot of people were saying, well, Scott Ritter was saying that this thing would be over in autumn. It'd be over in fall, that the military conflict. But if he says that after their training they're only going to last 1 month, and the training is going to last, I mean, we're talking about next summer. So I really don't know. Who knows? And I think it was Medvedev. He just came out the other day and he was saying, oh, this could last a long time. So nobody knows how long this is going to last. I guess, yeah. A lot of people are saying that it's going to, what was it? Larry Johnson was saying he thinks it only lasts for a little more than a couple more weeks. It'd be interesting to find out whose prediction is right. My prediction is, I don't know. And remember the last video, the last video I just made, I was talking about Sergei Lavrov, and he was talking about Josep Borrell, and you know, Borrell's statement of the EU countries in the West living in their beautiful flower garden, and the rest of the world is nothing but a jungle, meaning probably Asia as well. Asia, I think they're the ones they told him don't come. He wanted to go to China, and they said, oh, no, stay home. So, but anyway, obviously Russia, Africa, probably Asia, South America, they're all living in the jungle. So not in the beautiful garden. I'm just kind of repeating what I said in the last video, but Lavrov said that those are racist views. Basically, and he said, I'm not afraid to use that word racist. So in other words, he's diplomatically calling Borrell a racist. And Borrell obviously didn't like that, because less than 24 hours, Borrell came out and was talking about Russia being a gas station with nuclear weapons, And Alex Cristoforo went into that a lot too, but Borrell also called Russia an economic dwarf, and then Borrell comes from Spain, and where do they rate? If you want to go just by these GDP numbers, which is actually only one way to look at it, you cannot really rate an economy entirely based on GDP. That's been proven fact, but that's what they go by in the West, is your GDP. And even going by the GDP, I think Russia now just took over Germany, and now they're rated fourth. I believe it's, fourth place. Fourth place? Let's see, first is China, second is the United States, and what is in third? India, and then it's supposed to be Japan, and then fifth is now Russia. And within 2 years, Russia is going to overtake Japan, so they're going to be fourth. And then where is Spain at on that? Spain, I don't even think, is in the top 10. But yet he's criticizing Russia and calling it an economic dwarf. I wonder if he's inviting the Russian government to talk about the economy of his country. And Russia is what? Maybe the world's largest petroleum and gas producers. And they're the #1 producers of wheat. And they're some of the highest producers in things like aluminum. They have gold mines and silver and steel. I think one of the biggest steel producers is now coal. So it's not just petroleum products, it's also energy in general. Obviously the biggest energy producing country in the world is Russia. And you need energy to become a wealthy country. And one reason why Germany just got knocked out of 5th place is because some mental genius decided that, that he's going to blow up the pipeline of one of his strongest allies. So let's make my allies weak so that I look stronger, but yet, well, you guys know what I'm getting at, So let's weaken our coalition to make us stronger after our stated enemies. Actually, I think the USA has gotten some gains, because supposedly they're the recipient of a lot of this, industry, downturn in Germany, and some people are setting up their industries over in the United States now. But Russia is also one of the largest, maybe the world's largest fertilizer producer. So an economic dwarf, huh? And 73% of Russia's income from exports is from non-oil and petroleum-based products. So I think this is not just a gas station. I think this is a very well-functioning mini mall. Maybe it's a supermarket with some gas pumps. They have to change their they have to change their description, I think, there. And I wonder where the United States gets the most of their money. They don't have so much gas. They don't really have so much fertilizer. They have a little bit of a lot of things. But what is the main? source of income from the United States. Guess what? Financial services. And what do I mean by financial services? Not just because, you know, you have the IMF there and the World Bank there, and a lot of people keep their gold reserves in the basement of the New York Federal Reserve, things like that. But financial services. What I mainly mean by that, you know, you have the world's reserve currency of the United States. A lot of people are now starting to get away from that. And Paul Craig Roberts just recently came out. Paul Craig Roberts, if you know who he is, he was a Secretary of the Treasury. He's one of the very brilliant guys, a professor of economics. He's a professor of chemistry and a doctorate in economics. He was hired originally by Jimmy Carter, President Jimmy Carter. He was so good that Ronald Reagan kept him on. And he got the highest award from the French government because, under Charles de Gaulle, because he saved their economy with his economic brilliance. So this guy is one of the best economists in the world, and there's no doubt about that. And you ought to hear what he says about the United States and about a world currency. So a world currency is not needed, as he said. And the world is finding that out very soon right now. Russia found that out. Everybody's watching Russia. They tried to attack Russia. They took Russia off of SWIFT. So in other words, the United States actually is hurting themselves. So they're not getting the fees for Russia's transfers of money on the SWIFT account anymore, and everything else. And a lot of other countries are finding out what's going on. Of course, Belarus is off on that too. So they lost Belarus as well. Belarus wasn't obviously very big as far as some of these transactions and things are concerned. But how do you think of your economy? Most of the wealth of your economy comes from taking money from one bank and switching it to another. It's like making money by taking money from your left pocket and put it into your right pocket, sending it to your uncle's pocket. Your uncle's pocket sends it back to your left pocket or your right pocket, and charging a little fee all the time from that. I wonder how secure of a future you will have in doing that. I think I would rather have some commodity like oil and gold, maybe even fertilizer, wheat, growing wheat, or do it like Belarus does. Belarus, in ratings, like I've said, its potential in agriculture is supposed to be quite low. The United States has a quite high. The Ukraine has a very high potential in agriculture, but I'm sure you're now hearing by, I think it was Annie Akay, she put out something from a report that now with the war going on, there's a lot of lead and other heavy metals things going into the soils in the Ukraine, and it's contaminating the soils. And not to mention the fact that this grain that's coming from Ukraine is going to Poland and is supposedly very low quality and heavily dosed in pesticides and very, I don't know. So, but yet they do have strong potential, and that's another thing that Lukashenko mentioned in his interview, was how this great potential and how much he loves Ukraine. And but yet he's an evil guy. I don't know. You have to listen to some of these critics and then go and find the source, and you'll find out that you're getting bamboozled. That's one for the guys, I guess. Well, anyway, I'll tell you what, I'd rather have those commodities than making money by other people, sending money around. I wonder who's going to have a more secure future when, at some point in time, I guess that's their that's their reason for trying to hang on to Africa and any other country. A lot of people are trying to get out of the dollar. I don't even like to talk about that because you're inundated with all of that stuff from so many vlogs and everybody else. So, but that's about it. All that I'm going to say. I have some new subscribers, luckily, and I welcome you here. At least, I think there's only, since the last, well, actually 2 videos ago, I think I only have 5 new subscribers. But thanks for joining me, and again, that's all I have to say today, and I'll see you for the next one. So, bye-bye. One thing I noticed before I close Actually, I did end this video already, but I didn't. I ended it a little bit prematurely. One thing I didn't notice in my surroundings here is that you notice there's not that many people around. And it's not because it's Monday and it's hot. It's because the market is closed on Mondays. So if this was any other day but Monday, there'd be a lot of people walking around here because they're all going to the market. And the market is really a lot of bustle. I think you can find other videos like from Irish Partisan, and he's been to that market. And it depends on what time of year you're there. You know, right now, I don't know, they probably still have a lot of blueberries. Cherries are pretty much gone, but melons, a lot of melons still, great big. It's sort of looking like cantaloupe melons, but the shape of a big football. I don't know what they are. I think they're probably Tajikistan or something like that. I should actually show you that. If they had that market here, I'm just a little bit, I didn't realize that. Seems like every time I come here, it's like a Monday. And there's nothing here, nothing going on. So anyway, I just wanted to let you know why there's a lack of people. And again, that's it. So join me for the next one. And thanks for coming for this one. Till next time, bye-bye.